Big hello and a warm welcome to everyone watching CNN 10. We're starting the second week of our new season, and we're thankful you're watching. I'm Carl Azus. Today's Down the Middle coverage starts with an explanation of reunions on the Korean Peninsula. For the first time in almost 70 years, some civilians separated by the Korean War are set to see their families again. In April, North Korea and South Korea made a historic agreement to formally end the Korean War. As part of that agreement, 57,000 people who were separated from their families in the war became eligible to participate in reunions. What's set to take place in North Korea today won't include all of those people. Just 89 of them from the North and South are making the journey to see their loved ones. The lady you see here, Lee Kum-sum, is one of them. She's now 92 years old, and she's ready to see her 72-year-old son for the first time since he was 4. And the two became separated while trying to flee the fighting. Those like Lee who wound up in the South weren't allowed to see their relatives who wound up in the North. Now they'll have 3 days to reunite with their families. Reunions like this have taken place before, but more than 75,000 Koreans died before they saw their loved ones again. As we mentioned, today's event is part of a bigger agreement between the two countries to move toward peace. The guns might have fallen silent in 1953, but much of the division has remained.
North and South Korea have pledged to officially end the Korean War. South Korean President Moon Jae-in and his North Korean counterpart Kim Jong-un announced the historic accord while standing in the demilitarized zone. The heavily fortified 2.5-mile-wide strip of land has split the countries for more than 6 decades. After World War II, 2 superpowers divided the Korean Peninsula along the 38th parallel. The Soviet Union occupied the North and the United States the South. This resulted in the creation of 2 separate states, the Republic of Korea, or South Korea, and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or North Korea. Most historians say the North invaded the South on June 25, 1950, when the Korean War began.
This is war.
The North tells its citizens that South Korea and America actually started the war. Over the next 3 years, more than 2 million Koreans died in the fighting, including an estimated 600,000 North Korean civilians and 1 million South Korean civilians.
But our advantage.
Active hostilities ended in 1953, but technically the war is still ongoing because no peace treaty was ever signed. Since then, North Korea's founder, President Kim Il-sung, his son, General Kim Jong-il, and grandson, Marshal Kim Jong-un, have all dialed up the rhetoric. But with the historic summit and new accord, the 65-year-old war may finally come to an end.
10-second trivia. Which U.S. government agency was created by President Harry Truman in 1947? Federal Highway Administration, U.S. Department of Agriculture, Army Corps of Engineers, or Central Intelligence Agency? The answer here is the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, which focuses on gathering information outside the United States. A former director of the CIA has lost his security clearance. To help us explain what exactly happened and the controversy surrounding it, here's CNN's Tom Foreman.
What precisely are security clearances and where do they come from? Security clearances are issued by many government agencies and can come in several different levels, offering different access to sensitive or classified material. And even if you have the highest level of clearance, that's not an invitation to plunder all files. You will likely see only materials you need to know about. Who gets security clearances? As a practical matter, they go to people who are intimately involved in the safety and defense of the United States and its allies. Now, this is not all military business. For example, there could be economic information or infrastructure details or negotiations with other countries which might be considered highly sensitive and fall under this umbrella. But all of this has to do with active government service. So why should anyone who's left the government retain his or her security clearance? Former employees of an agency have experience. They have institutional knowledge. And the people who take over for them may need that. Say you worked on some classified matter involving another country and a new team comes in, they need to know what you did. This would assist the new team to be able to talk to you about the current situation as well. In addition, some private industries, defense contractors, for example, do work that requires private citizens to deal with sensitive government matters. So having a security clearance outside the government can also be useful. So why would anyone lose or have their security clearance revoked? Usually that happens because they truly no longer need it, or some conflict has arisen. For example, they start working for a foreign hostile government, or they just get into trouble. They commit a crime, or they're linked to some illicit or risky activity.
U.S. President Donald Trump took away the security clearance of former CIA Director John Brennan last week. Brennan served in the CIA under the Obama administration. In recent years, he's been very critical, online and on TV, of President Trump. Following his decision to revoke Brennan's security clearance, the president said Brennan made mistakes as CIA director and that he's using his status as a former high-ranking official to make, quote, unfounded and outrageous allegations about the Trump administration. Former Director Brennan says President Trump is abusing his power and punishing his critics, and more than 12 other former intelligence officials called the move an attempt to stifle free speech. Republican Senator Mitch McConnell says President Trump has the authority to revoke security clearances, and officials say the president's reviewing the clearances of other people who served in the Obama administration. Next today, positive athlete isn't just a generic term for someone who plays sports and smiles. It's a CNN program that searches across the country for high school student athletes who've overcome the odds or gone out of their way to help others. You can nominate someone you know at cnn.com/positiveathlete. A great example is Lexi Schutzman from Fox Chapel, Pennsylvania.
Good job. High five. Yes.
I don't know that she even sees people as having disabilities. She just has always seen who isn't included and looked for ways to include them.
I'm the president of Best Buddies, which is a club that includes kids with and without disabilities in activities that they might not be able to do without given the opportunity. And I'm also a peer helper within the life skills classroom.
Well, I have students that have significant intellectual disabilities, and I teach them everything that they would need for life after high school. I think it's just a natural passion for her. She just naturally befriended the students in my classroom.
She goes out with the students and assists students as a peer rather than an adult, helping them grocery shop, learn how to give change, go through the counters, make sure they get everything on their list as an equal. I think valuing their abilities and not having pity and seeing that they can do the same things she can do as a person without a disability.
Had a meeting with Special Olympics, and they gave us a first Special Olympics team, which was unified bocce, and it was really cool. All of the kids loved it. A lot of them don't get to play on sports teams in the school, so this is a team that includes kids with disabilities and kids without disabilities in a unified way.
When she got to the high school and she knew she loved soccer so much, and approached her coach and asked the coach to have the students that were her friends that had more significant disabilities and couldn't play soccer to be ball boys and girls on the team.
I thought it would be really cool to include them as a part of the soccer team, so they come to all of our home games and they get to warm up with us.
Lexi is just someone who never gives up and always encourages others.
Everything that I've done through my middle school and high school career has just made me grow so closer to the idea of being a special education teacher, and just the thought of leaving high school and never really doing anything again, I just couldn't imagine it. It's always what I've wanted to do.
Today I learned that cheese curds, chunks of curdled milk that are often fried, are also known as squeaky cheese. I also learned there's a competition to see who can eat the most cheese curds in 6 minutes. And wouldn't you know it, it was held at the Wisconsin State Fair. The winner, who surprisingly was not this guy, was able to stomach more than 5 pounds of cheese curds. So the only thing between him and a $2,000 first prize were the curds in the way. Like Little Miss Muffet, he was able to tough it out the competition to make sure history occurred. I'm Carl Zeus for CNN 10. Nothing can embarrass to our news and cheesy puns, and we've ricotta more for you tomorrow. Hope you think it's Gouda, even if you're watching all provolone.